All right. Hi, Arsham. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Vonvo.com. Today's date is March 30th, 2013, and we're here to discuss Iran human rights violations. I just wanted to go over two quick things before we got started with our conversation. The first is that right now this conversation is being recorded, and after the recording is completed, we'll be uploading this video to our YouTube channel and up to the internet. Is that okay with you?
Yes, of course.
Okay, great. And then on top of that, here at Vonvo, we are all about our conversation staying both civil and valuable. We don't want there to be any personal attacks against anyone. Are you fine with that ground rule as well?
Of course.
Okay, great. So then let's get started with our conversation. Would you mind, for anyone who watches this video later on and anyone who joins into this chat, would you mind giving us a quick background about yourself and why you're so passionate about this issue?
My name is Osham Parsi, and I'm the Executive Director of the Iranian Railroad for Foreign Refugees based in Toronto, Canada. I'm an Iranian homosexual, and I left Iran in 2005 on the basis of not only my sexual orientation but also my activism as a gay activist. And I applied for my asylum at the UNHCR office in Turkey. Then I came to Canada in May 2006, and I always support the Iranian queer cause because it's my cause and it's my Iranian queer fellows, and it's human rights cause.
Right. So basically, can you give us a quick background of exactly what IRQR does for those who don't know or understand?
Yeah, Iranian Railroad for Queer Refugees is an organization, is a non-profit organization based in Toronto. It's an international organization as well because we help all Iranian self-identified queers who needs our services and support all around the world. And our focus is on their asylum and refugee application because many Iranians live on the basis of their sexual orientation and or gender identity and expression and seek asylum because homosexuality is in Iran is punishable by death. And there is a lot of social and cultural taboos that they are facing, and they don't have even basic rights, and they have to leave. Sometimes they are being treated by the government, sometimes by their families, and to have basic and fundamental human rights, they have no way but escaping Iran. So when they escape, they have lots of problems as well, especially in European countries, and we advocate on their behalf, we support them, and we try to grant them freedom and a free life.
Right. No, and that's great. So can you give us you sort of began to go into it. Would you mind elaborating a little bit on Iran and punishing individuals by death regarding uh, being a homosexual? Like what ultimately how does that work over there? Do you have any stories you want to tell us about where basically these violations take place on a daily basis or weekly basis? Can you kind of elaborate on that strict sort of policy, please?
It is very difficult because Iran's judiciary system is not very clear, and most of people doesn't have free access to stories, court verdicts, and they usually don't know what will happen at the courtroom. But according to Islamic punishment code, homosexuality is punishable by death. And if you're interested, you can go to our website, and we have the text of Islamic punishment code for homosexuality. It's very ironic and it's very horrible because one of the article is just about kissing. If two same-sex kiss each other, they are punishable by 60 lashes. And so having a sexual act or intercourse, everything is out of conversation. And but how many cases every day or every week or every year are being executed, we honestly don't know, because many times Iranian government changed the court verdicts and the title of the case just to avoid the international pressure. Because in 2005, July 19, that the two Iranian teenagers were executed in city of Mashhad for being homosexual or having homosexual act. Iranian government got very smart, and they usually don't want to get in trouble, because it was an international pressure on Iran, that because they were junior, they were under 18, and they were executed because of their sexual orientation. So since then, we were witness that Iranian government arrested many queer individuals. They sent them to the courtroom and they punish them, for flogging or prison, or sometimes, the capital punishment. But the court verdict, when the court verdict issued, it was, for example, 100 lashes for drinking alcohol. So they don't want to give any evidence to people. So we just sometimes we don't know why these executions are happening and what is the exact reason for that.
Right. So who is ultimately making this decision? Who is promoting this sort of and enforcing this power on top of the people inside of Iran? Who's leading that?
In Iran, we have lots of leaders. Everybody have are their own leader, and they can make a decision. Even a simple member of militia, they can do whatever they want, because when it comes to human rights, when it comes to minorities, they have power. So despite the Ministry of Justice and the courtrooms that they are very homophobic and anti-homosexuality, there are lots of people who doesn't have the knowledge. For example, they are a simple member of, police, and so they are very low-ranked police members. And when they arrest someone and when they see someone who is a member of LGBT community, they can do whatever they want. Most of the time, harassment, insulting, and discrimination is very, very common in Iran. And I can say every single of Iranian LGBTs they experience once at least in their lifetime, if not every day. And but if they arrested, for second time or for third time, or they send them to the courtroom or police and make a file, God knows what will happen for them.
Right. So can you just give us also a quick I don't know if I don't remember if you said it earlier, but in terms of you did you grow up in Iran once? Would you mind?
Yes, I was born in Shiraz, Iran, and I was there until I was 24, and I left Iran.
Right. So basically, ultimately, did you still have friends, and I guess more so, homosexual friends who are still over there that have had to just hide under cover and hide behind these personal beliefs while they try to live inside of that country?
Yeah, of course. When I was in Iran in 2001, actually, I started my activism. Went I had two transgender friends, and they committed suicide, and it was big on me. I decided to do something for my community. I was in Iran for a couple of years and working underground, and I knew lots of Iranian LGBTs, but they didn't know who I am, and I used a nickname for my protection and my family's protection. And then I find out that I have to leave, otherwise I will be arrested. So since I left Iran, I have a very extended and strong relationship with Iranian LGBTs. I receive minimum 100 emails every day, and with people that they need support, they want to talk with someone, they want to get advice, share their information, and just simply they need an ear to listen to their words and give them a proper advice. And it's very difficult. And if they got problems and they leave Iran, so they request our organization and us to help them and provide them support and services. That is why that usually I travel to Turkey every other month to meet Iranian LGBTs in person and have a human contact and talk to them and document their cases and support their claims at the UNHCR office or Canadian embassy and etc.
Right. So, why don't we go then into a little bit more about just overall then, when it comes to human rights in general inside of Iran. I mean, what are the constant daily pressures that people are being put under? And you obviously know because you lived there for a while. Can you kind of go into what other uh, violations are happening on a daily basis?
Iran's population is about 5 million people. And in my opinion, all 75 million people are eligible to be granted asylum and refugee status because every single of them has their own issues. In Iran, we have, Iran's only issue is not uranium enrichment, it's not nuclear bomb, it is human rights violation. We don't have women rights. We don't have children rights. We don't have ethnic rights. We don't have, LGBT rights. And all people, they are suffering in some sort of, human rights violation. And Iranian government, doesn't care about them. And the only thing that they do care is their power and how long they can stay in power.
Right.
But for example, we have lots of women rights activists that they are in prison. They have some cases, and talking about Iranian LGBT human rights is a big taboo in Iran. And you remember that President Ahmadinejad said that we don't have homosexuals in Iran, and always I commented on that it wasn't like that. He has no idea about homosexuality and gay people. It was an official statement from the Iran's president that we don't want to talk about it because we don't believe that they deserve any sort of rights. And also, lots of children are in prison and they are being sentenced to death. And there is lots of social and cultural violation and discrimination, harassment that we need to address them. And I always raise this issue that international government has to pay more attention to human rights violation because it's all about 75 million people at least. But unfortunately, most of government, they think about their own benefits and business contracts, everything that they have, and they don't care about human rights.
Right. So, what do you think? Ultimately, what then is the majority feeling amongst Iranian citizens living on a daily life inside of that country? You bring up that the item that gets brought up in the media is the idea about this bomb. Do you think that Iranian people are, discouraged that there's never really any focus on the human rights end of the problems inside that country, and it's all focused on, these bomb concerns?
Um, I cannot talk on behalf of all Iranians, but I know that we Iranians do not believe that Iranian government would have an Iranian bomb, a nuclear bomb, because and we are against that because I believe that if the government cannot treat their own citizens fairly, so how they can protect other people? So it's a big risk that Iran has a nuclear program. But in another way, how Iranian government achieve these bomb or etc. without international or some government support like Washington. So they help Iran to achieve these sell the technology. And in another way, for example, I remember during the Green movement in Iran, lots of people were arrested, and After a while, we find out that Nokia Siemens, that is a German organization and technology, they sell the spying technology to Iranian government to find out individuals who were participating at the green movement and protests. And in another way, German government every day condemn Iran's behavior. So sometimes I, as an Iranian citizen, and lots of my fellow citizens, they think that it's a big paradox. And sometimes a government says you shouldn't do this, and another way they sell the products and technology. And for example, the Russian government, it's out of conversation that how they support Iran in any way, because it's not, they don't care about Iran. The Russian government would like to stand in front of the United States and have more power at the region. So it's a big paradox right now in Iran that we just don't know what is going on. It's a political play, and we don't understand what exactly happening behind the scenes.
Right. So that brings up a whole nother concern, which basically throws in the idea that other outside countries are really struggling to get a hold of how involved they should be with the Iranian government, because you have countries like Russia who are supporting it, and then you have countries like America, which really don't have any positive remarks at all for that government. But yet once again the focus is really solely, it seems, on the nuclear program and whatever it actually is, if it's a bomb or not. And so at the same time there's this human rights struggle that's constantly taking place, and it's kind of unusual why that would go overseen. Do you have any insight into why the human rights violations are not actually accounted for, and particularly in the media? Do you have any insight into why these things are not discussed?
I think because if they want to talk and focus only on human rights, they have to give an answer about their own country as well. So for politicians, it's not a good thing to work on human rights at all. For example, like the United States is the fourth country that they have highest execution per year. The first country is China, the second Iran, the third is Saudi Arabia, and the fourth is the United States. So of course the U.S. government cannot put lots of pressure on Iran to stop execution, because Iran can respond in that why you execute people. The Canadian government can does because there is no execution in Canada. And in another way, like for the Russia or nuclear bomb or etc. Sometimes I'm not expert in this field, but sometimes I could see that Pakistan has nuclear program, but we don't see anything in news about Pakistan. Israel has it, but Iran has the issue with the nuclear program because Iran couldn't show that they respect human rights, because Iran couldn't show that it could be peaceful. So we don't trust the Iranian government right now, because we were witness that Iranian government arrested their own citizen, they killed their own citizen, and they threatened other nationalities. So there is concern about the nuclear program. Having the nuclear program by itself, I think it's good. It's saving energies, using the technology. But when it goes to the guns and bombs and everything, it's going to be scary.
Right. So ultimately, what I was going to ask is, do you think that did you say before that you don't think that Iran is building a bomb? Do most of the people inside the country not think that?
What do you mean?
That most people in Iran don't believe that they are actually building a bomb, and most people don't want there to be a bomb. Could you repeat that? I think you brought it up before.
Yeah, I think most people, I know the majority of people think that we don't need to have a nuclear bomb, because in sometimes I have informal conversation with my friends, and I said, if Iran has a nuclear bomb, they would do it inside Iran, not, for example, in Israel, because there's lots of people are against Iranian government inside Iran, and we are not supporting the government. And there is a small percentage of Iranians who works for the government. They support the government, but majority of people not. And and I don't remember anyone who said that we need this bomb. And yes, I saw it in the news, in Iranian news, but I'm sure that always they have make-up stories that they ask some people to stand in front of camera and repeat some sort of word for propaganda.
Right, and so that brings up an interesting concept, if you don't mind us tackling, because we've had a few conversations on Iran, and a important item that got brought up the last time on the subject was the idea behind Ahmadinejad. I have a question I want to ask you about him, but would you mind first sort of just giving us your take on Ahmadinejad and what you think of him? Because then I have a follow-up question I want to ask you, but I'm just interested to first hear your opinion of him before I ask you it.
When it was Ahmadinejad's first election, I wasn't in Iran. But I knew that lots of people said that they can vote for Ahmadinejad. We don't have free election in Iran because always they decided who should be the president, who should be the parliament chief, who should be the leader, and it was a democratic cause to have an election. And sometimes Iran's constitution is democratic, but it's not being practiced. So I doubt. I'm not sure because we didn't have free election in Iran. It's difficult to say that Iranian people selected Ahmadinejad for presidency at the first term or the second term. It was decided before election as well.
So basically, my follow-up question was going to be, one person in particular who came on Vonvo recently kind of, said Ahmadinejad in the end is just a puppet figure for the Iranian country, and he truly doesn't represent what's actually going on inside of Iran, and he just is a puppet figure to appear inside the media and sort of play this whole cover-up game. Do you agree with that statement?
No, at all. I think lots of people knew right now that Ahmadinejad is not representing all Iranians because maybe most of Americans, especially, they thought at the first that Ahmadinejad is representing them. But right now, no. If you go back to President Obama's speech for new rules and greetings, always he emphasized that I would like to talk to Iranian government and Iranian people. He always distinguished these two, because Iranian people usually, doesn't support Iranian government because they have to just tolerate it and they don't like to support and represent the government. And I see lots of Iranians in diaspora, they have issue with it, and they were so angry that why they think all Iranians is Ahmadinejad and all what they said. And when he said about something about Holocaust and about Israel, lots of people are outraged because in Iran we have lots of Iranian Jewish and lots of them have families in Israel. So we were surprised at how you can make this funny statement while Iran and Israel they had years and years history together.
Right. Arsham, can you just hang on 1 second? I'm just having a little browser issue. Wait 1 second, okay?
Sure.
Hang tight. Are you there? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I thought it was a bigger error than I thought, but it's okay. All right, great. So, next thing that I was going to ask you about is, would you mind talking a little bit from your first 24 years living inside of Iran. Would you mind talking about um, the role of women inside of Iran? Uh,
In what aspect?
so ultimately, is that a population of people that is respected and given a chance to succeed inside of Iran, or the complete opposite?
Always I recommend you to distinguish and make the sense between government and the official statements and the society and culture. In the society and cultures, we don't have many issues. Women's they have their own, situation in Iran. They have good roles. Lots of are a good leaders, and they're leading lots of organizations. And but when it comes to the government, you could see the violation. You could see the discrimination. But in the society, most of issues are okay. For example, I remember that I talked to many Iranian families when I was in Iran about homosexuality. And after, they were very offensive at the first, but after 10, 15 minutes, they were very soft and they could accept it because they could get the proper and accurate information. But the government cannot and they don't want to accept these, rights because it's about their fundamental. If they give the perfect rights to women in Iran, they could lose lots of the proud and those things that they work on that. And if they accept, homosexuals, it's all all the Islamic fundamental are going under a big question mark that what is happening. So denying is the best way to clean the question, and when you don't have question, you don't need to give any answer.
Right. No, not a problem. And so, uh, what's your take on how Iranian and Israeli relations, what those should be like, and um, what is your take? What's your take on how Iranian and Israeli relations, how those should be handled?
I'm not expert in this field, but I think they are really good friends because when they just talk over the media that Iran talking against Israel, Israel talking about against Iran, they could get lots of benefits from the international governments and people. I went to Israel in September 2011, and I talked with lots of officials and people, and I couldn't see any issues between me as an Iranian citizen and them as an Israeli citizen. So we had lots of things in common, and we both thought that it's about governments, and they want and they love this political play. Because if Iran and Israel didn't have these issues, so it was very boring for them.
Right. And so, I guess my next question would be is in terms of Iran, like what do you believe the type of impact that this country should have going forward over the next 5 to 10 years? I mean, do you think that Iran should be having a major stake in, the a major stake in the future of the Middle East region, or do you believe that they'll have more of a reserve role? And I mean, ultimately, how well do you think that their role, how impactful can they be as they continue to, work under this Ahmadinejad-run country, and the existing, religious authorities that are inside of there? How impactful can they actually be?
I think Ahmadinejad terms will be over in a couple of months, and I think the first thing that the Iranian government needs to do is to bring a big change, and changing the constitution, changing the government, and governing the country, that I'm not sure under Islamic regime it would be happen, because there's lots of violations and they have a very old agenda. They, for example, at anti-Israel, anti-US, and they think that, lots of Western identity came to Iran. They attacking Iran. So it's an old-fashioned, enemies and enemy concept that they're playing with them. And right now, Iranian government, they are so tired and fed up with these kind of conversation. I think before thinking about Iran's role in Middle East or in the region, we have to think that Iran has to bring some change inside the country and respect people, respect the human rights, and allow people to have a free election, and then they choose a representative to govern the country. By this system, president doesn't have a big role because we have a supreme leader. The parliament doesn't have a big role because we have the parliamentary advisor for supreme leader. So it's like Vatican in Italy. We have a supreme leader, cabinet inside the Iran. So, and sometimes we don't know who has the major power.
Right. All right. Great. So, the next question that I would like to ask you about, and just because I know I wanted to, just before we continue, did you have any other, important items that you wanted to bring up specifically on, the gay rights front inside of Iran and outside of it, that you wanted to, definitely mention?
Yeah, in Iran, everybody right now knows that Iran violating queer rights, and there is an execution, capital punishment for homosexuals. But the issue is that outside of Iran and among the international government, especially European government, there is a need to change as well to protect Iranian LGBTs who escape Iran on the basis of their sexual orientation, and they need protection because.
Hey,
Did you ask me?
No, continue, Arsham. I was saying hi to Felix. That's all.
Okay. And when Iranian LGBT is going to, outside of Iran and seek asylum, they are facing lots of problems, like especially in Norway, in the UK, the Iranian LGBT asylum seeker are facing discrimination toward European government because simply they told them that okay, we know you are gay, go back to Iran, don't tell anyone, and you are safe. That is against fundamental human rights. And I would like to see a change among international governments to protect Iranian LGBTs and support queer rights as well.
Great. Felix, how are you? Do you hear me?
I'm good. I'm good, thanks. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Arsham, do you hear Felix?
Yes.
Okay, great. Felix,
How are you doing, Arsham?
Felix, did you have something that you wanted to ask Arsham regarding Iran? We've been covering a few different subjects.
Well, as you know, I just joined in, so I really haven't heard the meat and potatoes of the discussion. However, I do have an opinion as to the subject matter, if I have it right, which is gay rights in Iran. Am I correct on that?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, I would say I really am one of those who believe in the traditional way of life. Not that I have anything against gay and lesbian and transgender and things like that. I also, my philosophy as far as that is concerned is it's pretty simple. You believe in something, or you can call for anything. Um, where I'm from, which is originally Trinidad, we grew up as in the traditional way of one a man on for a woman and vice versa. However, as the world evolves, there's much more of gays and should I say homosexuals coming out, and I believe if it's the way they choose to live, I have no problem with that. What I do sometimes have a problem with, it's the way it's demonstrated in public. I do have some concerns about that because I believe children are confused when they see this kind of behavior being exhibited in public, and it creates a bit of confusion. So, like I said, I have no problem with gays and lesbians. That's the way they want to live. That's fine. But I know a lot of people is gonna disagree with me on this, but I just don't like seeing it being demonstrated in public.
Suggested white and you didn't accept it. And when it comes to the homosexuality, everything, I don't know what is your sexual orientation, but imagine if you are heterosexual and you said, I don't like, gay marriage, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, respectful, but we as a homosexual should make a decision. So we can take your advice as a comment and ignore it.
Of course. And we all, like I said, we all have that right. But again, like I said, this is where, when as civil society, this is where we had laws that govern everybody. People choose to be atheists. They don't care about the Bible or any religion for that matter. And they'll live with people as well who's conflict. But like I said, I have a lot of gay friends. I volunteer at the gay parade, right? I volunteer at the gay parade in Toronto. I go and I help them do things, keep things in order, and marshal and help people, but I'm not gay, right? So in that sense, I have nothing against gay. Like I said, I have gay friends, but when it comes to my own
I participate. I support women cause, and I'm not women. I support any discrimination against black people while I'm not a black. So it doesn't give me any point that because I'm not black I support black people. There's no point. So there is nothing good about me. It doesn't make me a good person. It's it should be.
I'm not saying it makes me a good person. All I'm saying is that in my belief that I believe what I believe, and even though I hold firm to my beliefs, I will not tread upon yours, right? I will support gay, lesbians, you name whatever you got. If that's what you want, and I'm comfortable supporting you, that's the way you want to live, fine. I volunteer the gay parade. But that doesn't mean that I'm gay, does it?
No. And it doesn't mean that you're against gay marriage.
Exactly. But in my opinion, if someone would ask me what do I think, it would be I support traditional family, which I believe, according to God, that it was one man and one woman so we can procreate and fill the world. That's my belief. So I can keep that and then go and say I believe in gay marriage. Then what the hell do I really stand for?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Are you married or single?
I was married. I have 2 children.
Do you have children?
I also have a grandchild. I'm 49 years old.
If your children come to you and say that, for example, I'm gay or lesbian, what do you feel about it? Do you do you do something against them and say that this is my belief and you should get married with an opposite sex, or you accept it?
My children, as it is, they know what I believe because they've grown up into my. But I don't I'm in no religion. Let me just state that first. I'm not involved in any religion. Catholic, Hindu, Muslim, you name it, I don't participate. But I do believe that there is a God and Jesus and all. I do believe those things. But my children know. But if my son or my daughter were to come to me and say that, Dad, I'm gay or I'm a lesbian or whatever, I'm not going to kick them out. I'm not going to persecute them or anything like that.
Because you can't, because they can call police.
Right. I will say to them, it's their choice, right? At least they know mine. They know mine. They're like every other individual. They're entitled to their own. And that's what else can I do? I can't do anything but respect their choice. Just they'll know they have to respect mine.
Yeah, that is very good way, but I didn't understand that. I don't give you example. But imagine a family who believes in some sort of thing, and they told their children and family that what and how this person think, and it makes two ways. One, the children are being afraid of talking about their sexual orientation to their parents, and second, if they said and the parents will accept it. And when you make these comments, I didn't get exactly what you mean that, you believe in traditional marriage, but for your children, you accept it and they have choice. So why other people doesn't have choice?
No, I never said nobody don't have a choice. Of course, everybody has a choice. Everybody, my children, your children, and everybody has their own choice. But as far as my own belief goes, that is what I believe. And if you were to ask me to, let's assume that, as I said, I have gay friends. And let's assume one of them were to come to ask me to witness their marriage, to sign some document that says that I approve their marriage as a gay couple. I will not do it because I do not believe in it. For me to sign that, even though we're friends, giving up what I believe to adopt their belief. And I don't think I'm prepared to do that.
And I have a question. If you were, 100 years ago in the U.S., when the black people were slaves, and you request someone to come and sign a document that I, as a black person, deserve the same right as white, and they said no, because I don't believe, because I believe you're a slave and you doesn't deserve it. How did you feel about that?
Well, I would be disappointed. I would be upset because what you're describing, it has nothing to do with gender, sexual orientation. What it has to do with human rights.
Exactly does.
It has to do with human rights, the right to live.
Because human rights, they thought that there shouldn't be any discrimination on the basis of religion, gender, nationality, sexual orientation, political opinion, and a membership in political group, in a political social group. So gender and color and race, they are 2 points that it mentioned in the Human Rights Declaration. So they're equal. We couldn't say no. The race is something different, and gender and identity is not important. Both of them they are equal at the same page at the international human rights level.
Okay. Again, whatever the UN or human rights world body were to decide, I mean, they're entitled to do that because that's what they represent. However, you as an individual and me as an individual, if we believe differently from what they're right or whatever, that doesn't affect my belief. I have to respect it and live with it because whoever that involved, they're also part of the world that I live in. So I have to accept if they say sexual orientation should be treated equally as the human rights for blacks to live, then that's fine. I'm not going to go pick up guns and go try to kill everybody because I don't believe that. Oh, nonsense. I'll say, okay, if that's what they believe, that's what you believe. As I'm concerned, it's not what I believe. But I will live as neighbors with these people, and we'll have a cocktail together, but I just don't believe what they believe.
That doesn't mean the democracy gives the solution for these different thought. And the election and voting is for maybe in a city that they have 10,000 people, 9,000 of them believes that gay marriage should be respected, 1,000 not. Who are the winner? That 9,000. That is why that right now in the U.S. court, the High Court, they're discussing these issues. There is an election, they're talking about it. However, I think that it shouldn't be any election because it should be respected at the beginning. But that's good. That's a good sign that people talk about it and they express their opinion and they said who's, the majority of people in favor of what kind of concept, and we have to accept that. And you mentioned about gay rights, and you're in Toronto, and in Canada it's about 12 to 15 years that we have gay marriage here in different cities, and everything is fine. And as you earlier discussed, no dad came and said I want to have sex with my daughter and it should be legalized. And it wasn't, no one came and said I want to have sex with my, with my pet and it should be legalized. And we have lots of examples that in many countries, everything is fine. And gay rights and gay marriage doesn't mean that all kind of moral behavior in the Bible or in Quran and everything will be promoted. And I think it's kind of insulting for gay community to compare them with having sex between family members and everything, because it's two different subjects.
I agree, but what I'm saying is, as things evolve, people on the whole, especially in the United States, people have this tendency to push the envelope as far as they could. Look before. As you know, the emanation of gay, lesbian, and transgender and all of that, those things came out first. The right to be gay if I want to be gay and be recognized as gay. And then from that it came gay rights to parade on the streets. Then after that it came gay should have a right to their benefits. And after that, now there comes a right for gay people to get married. And so it went from one stage to the next. And all I'm saying is, when these things start happening, then you have people who have been doing things in the closet that would have been considered wrong, let's say 50 years ago. Now, because of all these things coming out one by one, then eventually everybody starts coming out. I saw on TV last year, on one of these talk shows, a father was in love with his daughter, and they had a child together, right? The father ended up getting arrested for having sex with his daughter, but the point they were trying to make was that they were happy and they were in love and they wanted to raise a family. So that's where it starts going. And people like me, I'm not saying you, people like me sits up and says, well, where does it end? I mean, like Jesus. We claim to have our constitution built according to what the biblical belief, as you know, right? And all of this begins with politics, because it's the politicians who start pushing these agendas so they can hold on to power, and they sacrifice what they believe for political gain. And I wonder, like, where does it end? Like, where are we actually heading? But for me, I know I am grounded deeply into what I believe. So nothing can shake me from what I believe. It doesn't mean that I disrespect gay people or lesbians or whatever. I have to coexist with them, and I'm prepared to coexist with them. I will be neighbors with them. I will hang out with them. I will, help them with something. But when it comes to what they choose as far as sexuality goes, I don't believe, I will not participate in it, and I will not endorse it on a personal level. I will not do that on a personal level, because for me to do that, it means sacrificing what I hold near and dear and what I believe to adopt somebody else's ideology of what relationships are or what marriage is, and then I have to start questioning, like, what the hell do I really believe? And I don't want to do that. I respect gay people for whatever, and that's fine. But I can't sacrifice what I believe and for somebody else. I just can't do that.
Yeah, I understand it. However, I disagree.
Yeah, and
Of course, and are you gay by chance?
No, by chance, by real.
Oh, you okay? So you're gay. So I have nothing against you. I don't want you to walk away from this conversation thinking that somehow I have something against you, because absolutely not. Right? Absolutely not. If I were to meet you downtown Toronto today or tomorrow, I'll sit with you, but I don't drink alcohol, but I'll probably have a pot with you, and sit and shoot the breeze and whatever. You know what I mean? But the lifestyle, I cannot participate because it's not me.
yeah, and no.
I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying. It's it's not. Look, like I said, just 2 minutes. Well, not 2 minutes, but just before I logged on here, I just finished signing up the shifts down at the gay parade in June. Right? So
Yeah.
I have nothing whatsoever against these people. Nothing at all.
I
Just
know
not
that
like
you don't have. I know that you don't have anything against gay people, because if you did, you could be in prison right now. Because people could in Toronto, they could go to police, and if you did anything against gay people, you're facing the law and hate
Of course.
and everything. But if you had anything against gay people, you wouldn't be in the chat room. So you're an open-minded person, and you want to discuss.
Absolutely.
But my point is that sometimes we should ignore ourselves and think about people.
I do. And that's why I do. And that's why, like I said, I have gay friends. I have nothing against them. I do think about other people and their feelings and the things they might want to do. And that's fine. The only thing I'm saying is that I hold fast to what I believe, because I'm a God-fearing person. And I've been a God-fearing person in my mind. I don't want to have to stand one day before God, and when He asks me why I forsake Him to give way to another life, how do I explain that? And like I said, I'm a God-fearing person. So in every God-fearing person, that is the thought that linger in their mind. On the day of judgment, when we face God, how do we explain giving up what we believe to give way to something that is just political or let's say worldly? How do we explain that? And that's the fear. And I'm sure I speak for a lot of people who oppose gay marriage and things like that and hold to the Bible. I'm sure they'll tell you that's one of their biggest fear. On their day of judgment, when they stand before God, how do they explain giving up, let's say, God, to hold on to something else that is perceived as not of God? How do we explain that? And it's the fearful thing. I'll rather be judged by God than be judged by man.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so
you know what I mean?
Yeah, Felix.
So it's nothing against you or any gay person personally. Just my fear of God and what could happen to me when my soul departs the earth. That's the fear.
Yeah, but Felix, I wish I had time to talk and answer all your comments, because I can talk more than hours and hours about it.
I'm sure you can.
But I have another interview in 2 minutes and I have to go. But
All right.
But in general, I think just to think, maybe one day we meet each other in Toronto and talk about it. Just think, if one day comes and we find out that there is no religion, no God, no Jesus, no Prophet Muhammad, nothing, and it was us and us and us, and what we should do and what we have done. So always we have to just put these pressure from our shoulder and put it somewhere, that God or Jesus. I'm not saying that I'm atheist, but I believe in God, and but I think that what kind of behavior should I do that sometimes I'm not shameful in front of the God or other. That's it.
Right, and
Well,
you
know what?
and you guys can
Like
you guys
I said,
can speak
I
on
respect
Vonvo at
what
any
you
time.
believe and you're certainly entitled to that. You are entitled to that, and I will never stop respecting that right that you have. Never.
What did you say, Max?
I was going to say, and you guys can feel free to speak anytime you would like on Vonvo, and I'd be happy to arrange a discussion. But thank you so much, Felix, for joining in
Can't
with
hear
us.
Max. Is he up?
Oh, you don't hear me? Okay.
Oh, he's just talking to you alone.
Oh, I don't. You should be able to hear me, Felix, but I don't know if you do. But Arsham, if you have to go, then no problem at all, and we will speak soon. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry. I wish I could be here, but I had an interview with Radio Line and I have to go.
All right, you take care, man.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.